What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are here for another plastic conspiracy theories. This one's going to be interesting. It's gusting up to about 40 miles an hour. It's about 20 miles an hour currently. Well, they said steady at about 20, so gusting to 20 to 40, I guess. You have the DD3s. Flight numbers 12, 5, -1, 3. Theoretically, going to be a very good solid wind fighter, but I've noticed that the DD3 itself seems to be a little bit more understable than I would typically want from this. So we're going to be testing out a couple of DD3s. We have this new, got out of the mystery box. This is the Horizon. I'm fairly certain it's metal flake C-line in the middle with an S-line rim, I think is how this works. This, I don't think, has the chops to be the overstable one, probably a pretty straight one. But then we have 3 other discs that aren't DD3s. This is time-lapse. This pink Neutron, probably one of the most overstable ones I've thrown. 12, 5, -1, 3, the same numbers. Same exact flight numbers, but kind of what the DD3 was designed to replicate. This is a destroyer, not just any destroyer, it's a Halo destroyer, and it is pop-toppy with an intense heartbeat that you won't even be able to hear because of the wind. And we have a swirly S-line PD2. This is the Skystone. These two may fly fairly similar, and this just, I'm not really sure how the overstable time-lapse is featured in the wind. So we're gonna give all of these a little bit of a rip. We're gonna start off with just every disc in the bag right here on this first T-pad because there is a headwind. So let's see what they do. This is the T of 19. We're gonna go ahead and start with the 2 cloud breakers first. So the 2 Gannon cloud breakers, the one that we are testing for durability purposes. Gonna go color glow. Oh, that was need more air under that. This is C-line Meta, I think. Maybe it's the wind is just keeping them down. Now, the stock C-line and the C-line with this S-line rim. Let's go with S-line rim here. Okay, a little bit more air this time, bro. Kind of soared. Now the C-line. That was a better release. It's not a true headwind, as you may be able to see from the flags in the background. It's kind of head cross, coming across. So as long as I'm keeping them on the hyzer angle, they're not really flipping up. They're staying on hyzer, but if I were to expose that edge a little bit, just ever so slightly, I bet you'd see a lot more drift. Now these other 3, I think, are a tiny bit more stable. Not really sure about this one because of the Neutron time lapse, but give it a rip. Yeah, that one's a lot more stable than, we'll say, a green time lapse. And for some reason, the pink ones and the white ones were just beefy. I don't know if the color made the plastic a different temperature, so it domed differently, ever so slightly. Possibly something like that. Remember when I said about if you expose the angle of anhyzer to this head crosswind, it should turn it. This is a PD2. If you expose this to the crosswind, Is it going to be unusable? Probably not. Oh, it goes so far. You try to turn it over and it's still just a PD2. The wind is, it's a PD2. It's gonna do what it's gonna do. Now, I am incredibly interested to see what this will do. I think it's gonna be more stable. You might be able to hear. I think it's gonna be more stable than the Cloudbreakers, but maybe not the DD3. We'll see. Oh, that is, wow. It's one of the most overstable destroyers I've ever thrown. We're about to have a really fun day with some headwind. So I think the reason why this and this one specifically interest me is because unlike the other color or the other Cloudbreaker, which is it's Horizon, it's just two different colors, but they're both Color Glow Sea Line. They're both the same plastic, it's just a different process to get them in there. These aren't different colors, they're completely different plastics. So you take a stock Sea Line DD3 and you take the rim and give it to this, and then put some meta plastic in there for the flight plate. And then you take the flight plate and you give it an S-line rim. So does having a part of Sea Line in the disc make it fly the same as a Sea Line disc? Or is meta possibly slightly more stable or more flippy? Or just does meta versus S-line determine the flight of these two discs? Or does the Sea Line help them out? We're gonna throw basically the reverse wind, so it's gonna be a really long pushing hyzer shot. And we're gonna go the Sea Line first, and then we'll go these two and see if the Sea Line flight plate or rim makes a difference. That's really far. When you throw a DD3 flat, it gives you the Eden Destroyer effect. The Destroyer probably wouldn't do that, but we're gonna go ahead and throw the Cloudbreaker next, because this came out in the first of the mystery boxes. The second one I got in the second mystery box. So like I said, tail crosswind can make really long bombing hyzer shots. That one, slightly different release point. It felt like it drifted a little bit less. However, the stock Sea Line has more dome. But I'm really interested in this versus the Cloudbreaker. Do these fly anything alike, or do they fly different? I'm gonna say that they fly different. Wow, that's far. That is so far. So what I'm gonna go ahead and guess is that since meta is actually such a stiff plastic, it gives the core of the Sea Line rim a little bit more rigidity and a little bit more torque resistance, thus adding to the allure that it's more stable. Whereas you take the core that's flight plate that's already kind of thin and flexible and gummy from the normal stock Sea Line, and you give it an S-line rim, and the S-line is already going to be less torque resistant and less stable. So, does the rim really mean that much? I think the really interesting disc was if we got an S-line core with a meta rim and a Metacore with an S-line rim. That would probably be the test as to which Meta versus S-line. So we know C-line is more stable. We know C-line is more torque resistant. You know what? I can't hold it back. We're gonna throw the destroyer. I never throw destroyers. I'm gonna throw this one. Wow, that's easy. Also really far. Destroyer might be its own separate video, because right now we're working with Discmania and what makes it more stable versus less stable, and we'll get to shape here in a second. So the main reason that I got a destroyer was because the DD3 is supposed to be, or kind of the idea behind the DD3 is the destroyer clone, because the original Innova made DD3s was a destroyer. It was a destroyer. It was actually out of the destroyer mold, and it even had the Innova Rancho California whatever thing on the bottom. So now we have this DD3, and I don't think that it really stands a chance, because you can see this very frequent in overstable distance drivers or just overstable drivers and stuff from Innova. It has this almost bubble up on the rim, and then it has, well, this one has the intense dome because I picked it because it was the most pop-top one in the store, but it has this intense bubble rim, and even the Champion ones that were a little bit higher parting line, a little bit higher wing, still had almost that bubble up on top, whereas you don't really see it on the DD3. So let's look DD3s for a second. These, it's kind of like a lip, but it's not really. It's more like almost a lip where the rim meets the top of the flight plate, versus, see how it's different? It's very clearly a different disc. Let's look for a second at the time lapse. This seems to be more in line with the DD3. Now, I would say time lapse probably has a higher wing, especially this pink one. It's going to be very stable versus the DD3, which is just not quite that stable. But where you see that bubble up on the top of the rim is actually here in the Skystone. There you can see that the destroyer is, well, rather not the destroyer is, because the PD2 was kind of based off of a destroyer. It is a more overstable, higher wing destroyer. So you don't get quite that flip up, but also with this destroyer, you don't really get that flip up either. So is a destroyer is like a nice pop top halo destroyer, max weight, the same thing as a PD2. I know I was trying to keep it to just Discmania for this one, but they're very similar, very similar. Let's go ahead and throw, we're gonna go ahead and throw these two one more time, and then we're gonna throw the time lapse. We are on the longest pad for hole number 1. It's about 380 to the basket, but only about, well, I mean, there's a lot more safe land than before. We're gonna go with the S-line rim first here. Kind of saw that one coming. All right. This one shouldn't do as extreme as that. Yeah. S-line rim. At least I'm making this video. Oh boy. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get it today. because it's like 30 degrees. Time lapse, this one really should not turn, and if it does, I torque my wrist. See how that one really just doesn't want to. That Christmas time lapse was doing that all was doing kind of what the other ones did all December. Flip up, maybe even drift too much, not come back in bounds. This time lapse, the pink ones, for some reason, the bright pink ones, extremely overstable. So we may have to revisit the DD3 option, because today I've already lost 2 DD3s. Yeah, the Color Glow Cloud Breaker hit that stump and I couldn't find it again. So we're down 2 DD3s. So probably going to revisit the DD3 slot here in the near future. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. And by the time this video comes out, somebody will probably already fished it out. And whoever is throwing it, kudos to you. Have fun with it. You're probably going to like it more than I did, because, well, the one spot on the rim that you grip the most is the rim. And guess what? I don't really drive with S-line rims. Yeah. Okay. Have fun with that one. We'll see you on the next tee pad. It's about as much of a true headwind as we're going to get today. And this section of the lake is very small, and there are white caps. So that's a lot of wind. We are going to see how much they turn over. We're going to throw the Destroyer. We're going to throw the stock DD3. We're going to throw the Cloud Breaker. And we're also going to throw the PD2. And hope that the tripod stays upright. We're going to start with the Cloud Breaker. Does not handle that kind of amount of wind. I'm gonna do this real quick. This is how much wind. DD3. Oh, I actually hit that one pretty good. See how much that flipped up though? That was incredibly hazard, and it flipped all the way up and drifted to the right. This is a lot of wind. And sometimes at lower elevation, this amount of wind won't stop there. It'll just continue turning it to the right. Now, I'm gonna actually throw this on an Anheuser because it's that overstable. Oh boy, hit a tree, hit something. That was not on Anheuser, and that was extremely nose-up. And it almost went in the lake. It did not. It is retrievable, so we didn't lose 3 discs. We're gonna go the same. Gonna try to throw this one about the same as the DD3s. And yes, you saw how much wind there just was. Skip to the lake. That Destroyer is beefy. It's so overstable because this is so much wind. Yeah, as far as plastic conspiracies go, I think what we've discovered is making the rim out of your perfect material is going to do more than making it out of a less stable material. And just using the flight plate in that overstable plastic isn't really enough of that overstable plastic to make that much of a difference, but the rim realistically is. And I have to remember where the Cloud Breaker went. So see you on the next tee pad. I think what we've learned from today is that plastic does have an effect on the way a disc flies, and it has more of an effect over the flight when it's the plastic, it's the rim, is going to have more of a drastic effect. However, what really, really matters is the shape, because the shape is what gives it the stability. The destroyer's extra little nose hump that it and the PD2 both share both give it that extra rigidity and extra stability into the wind that the DD3 and sometimes even the time-lapse just don't quite have. So flight numbers aside, DD3 is, of these four molds, is the most understable, is going to be the straightest. It's the least overstable, I should say. The time-lapse is probably a second with, now this does vary based off of which DD3 you have and which time-lapse you have and which destroyer you have, but every single PD2 is more overstable. Every PD2 is going to be more overstable than, unless it is kind of a crazy run of destroyers, PD2 is just the beefcake, and DD3s just don't really stand a chance, which is why so many people throw the DD3, or a lot of the pros throw the DD3 as their main bomber disc, because it's realistically just not that overstable. We're gonna go ahead and see if I can show you the stability differences. We're gonna go with the Cloudbreaker here. I threw it into those trees and just, we're gonna not be in those trees anymore, right into the fairway, which is great. But that flight is very similar to my Mayhems, and I'm a little bit more comfortable just absolutely gassing the Mayhem because it doesn't just roll like the Cloudbreakers sometimes do. Let's go ahead and throw this time-lapse. I'm gonna try to put this flat and see if we get a turn out of it. Oh. Yeah, that's stable too. Now the destroyer, no way, did that just go in? How? Okay, we're definitely making a destroyer video, because that disc is awesome. Let's see what the PD2 will do. Yeah. Well, that is officially my very first race of the year. And it's with a destroyer. Hopefully you guys are enjoying content like this, because this is a lot of fun to film. If you want to see new stuff though, make sure to comment all that down below. If you want to keep seeing this type of stuff, make sure to like the video. Please make sure to subscribe. It helps you guys out with these subscriber only giveaways. Definitely helps me out as well. And more subscribers means more videos, means more aces. Until next time, see you out on the course.